A origem do homem, ou the man's origin, is something that is very difficult to to come up with a conclusion, or to be sure how did we become about here, how did our ancestral originate. It is like open up a box of surprise, or a Pandora box. We never know what we're gonna find. So all these theories about men being like a beast, men come from apes, um, uh, out of Africa, first one's Africa, etc. It's all just theories. We are not sure what really happened billions and billions of years ago. Okay, so until we are 200%, 100% in this case will not be enough. We need to be 200, 300% sure how it came about, what did it happen, before we come to a conclusion and create a convention to say that men come from Africa, that we are from apes, we are from beasts. We are not sure. Could be the opposite. Could be that chimpanzees or the apes came from the men, the Anunnakis. Who are Anunnakis? Anunnakis is not just that beings that some say like humans. Okay, they are not human at all. They are not human. It is a group. So all those who claim to know so much about ufology, about metaphysics, or on the ufology theme, actually they doesn't know. If they classify Anunnakis as some human beings, they don't know. If they think that the Anunnakis are just a men, are old people with beard, then they don't know. They don't know much. I'm so sorry, but you don't know. Okay, because Anunnakis are not humans. They are just like a ball of fire, but they came from some other kind of race. Okay, they are not from the same ray of light that human were created. So I would say that the apes came after the humans. Humans come first. I don't believe in this nonsense of evolution bit by bit, that the plates. Plates take billions, millions of years to move, to separate. I know, I'm not that stupid. I didn't went to universities, to scientific universities to know, but what I know is enough, because I don't just follow conventions blindly. That one is politically correct. Anunnakis, seeds and servants kind of conventions, and I don't buy that. I'm sorry. I'm not for that. So that's the Anunnakis. This is a group, and those were the ones that created all those theories for you to listen. So here we have the Greek mythology, mix up lies, mix it with half-truth, I would say. Again, created by their masters, okay? Created by their master to elude, to deceive, to twist, etc. So just as there were several theories concerning the origin of the world, so there were various accounts of the creation of man. Of course, we have many accounts. The first natural belief of the Greek people once that man had sprung from the earth. Okay, the man sprung from the earth. Could it have been from Agatha? I'm not sure. Maybe not. Okay, could men have coming from Agatha, the interior of the earth? I will look for it. I will find out, because I never stop from searching. We sprung from the earth, which is, to me is true. I believe that. They saw the tender plants and flowers force their way through the ground in the early spring of the year after the frost of winter had disappeared, and so they naturally concluded that the man must also have issued from the earth in a similar manner, just like the vegetable kingdom and the animals were brought forth, so did the man. Okay, we come from nature. Without nature, we are nothing. We from the soil. Without the soil, we are nothing. We depend on the soil. We depend on the water. We depend on the air, oxygen, which the forest supply for us. It creates for us this atmosphere. So, like the wild plants and flowers, he was supposed to have had no cultivation, nothing cultivated. It just sprung from the corks, from the rays of creation. It was not gods, it was no aliens whatsoever. Your gods are those ones. These are your gods. Here I introduce you to your gods, who take up many avatars to deceive and fool you. I'm not asking anybody to come out from religions or dogmas, rituals, whatever. It's your life. I'm just telling my truth. Nobody needs to follow. So, like the white plant and flower, he was supposed to have. Our ancestral they had no cultivation, resembled in his habits the untamed beasts of the field, having no habitation except that which nature had provided in the holes of the rocks and in the dense forests. The dense forest, whose overreaching boughs protected him from the inclemency of the weather. Now he's quoting from a modern history in this planet. He's not quoting from maybe billions and billions of years ago, when the climate was relatively colder than what we have now. Not the cold extreme, negative, zero, but very accommodative, very comfortable. The vegetation were others. Okay, so there were many other species living in here before the animals and the humans that we have nowadays. In the course of time, these primitive human beings became tamed and civilized. Thanks to the aliens. I don't believe there's no such thing. No, they were better, much better. What they did was that those beings that they believe, these are not the Anunnakis, these are just part of the Anunnakis group or confederation, whatever. But it's not Anunnaki. Anunnaki is a group, a confederation. Just like the Aryans. Aryans was another confederation from off-world beings. it was not a race, not Germanic. Many people went wrong because of this thinking. You ask any Vedas people, any Hindus, and they will tell that even um, the Aryans were there in India, but of course they were the Pleiadians, okay? Were the Pleiadians. These ones, how come the Anunnaki, wow, very big booby, have a modern topi? How convenient is that? That's not the how they look like, but they could take up any form, any skin color, whatever. A will, okay, doesn't necessarily mean that they were like this, because some people think of the Anunnaki as great things, so they want to push in the boot and the fish to their side. Okay, that's what happens psychologically speaking. When I go inside their mind, I start to read them, I come out with this conclusion that these people want to be greater than they are, so they bring about this nonsense that they were blacks. Not necessarily, in fact, these aliens, they took the black people, which were in certain part of the world, Panji or whatever, and they made them slaves. They were forced used as slaves for the aliens. Aliens that came from Sirius and Orion. Okay? So they were not necessarily like this, but they could take up any form, but they not necessarily like this. This one was the scientific people of Egypt that worked for the aliens. They were not like that, not like that at all. So in the course of this primitive human being become tamed. No, they were tamed. The aliens make them wild. Why? Because there is some Luciferian group among those Anunnaki groups that want the. Now let's explain another thing before I come to this to this matter. I would like to clarify something else. These beings, for them, the black is white and vice versa. Good is bad and vice versa. Progression is regression. Okay? A primitive being for them are evolved and vice versa. What they did was messing up with the mind, the brain, the DNA of humans to make them wild as they are, because they are the beasts. They are the beasts. And so they created the human in their image. Do you see how their religions come about? God made gods. Who are those gods? Who are they again? Those ones. He is your gods again. God made men in their image. Well, they say in the contrary, aliens or your gods make themselves in your image, because they came here, they extract DNA to create other forms of bodies, of bodysuit. So who taught them to work in metals. In the course of this primitive human being become tamed, and that's a lie. Okay, that's a lie. In the course of time, this primitive it was the opposite, because the Greeks was the clogs, who also kind of they also come from the Romans also, vice versa. Romans and Greeks are almost the same DNA, same kind of substances, so they kind of work for the aliens, Anunnaks. So they thought to work. They came here and then they say, let's make the evolution in a very fast pace. Because it was very slow, men have uh, evolved so uh, fast like that. Okay, first they came here, they saw humans. What they did, they tampered with their DNA, and they created the monsters, beasts. It was opposite. They find a better tamed, docile, nice species, and what they did, they distorted them at their will and created them half monster. Because at any moment, the beast can come out of the man, can surface anytime. So build house and the reservoirs of civilization, but the human race became, in the course of time, to the so degenerated that the gods resolved to destroy all mankind. Became tamed and civilized by the gods. This one was 500,000 years ago when they first came. When they came here, they found that there were already this being, but they were too stupid, too docile, too tamed, too civilized to defend themselves. So what they did, they who was the wild ones, they decided to exploit them and to bully your species. So what they did was to create another version of their own kind of fury or mentality by inserting the fire elements into this body. The fire element is the substance that moves, that gives more energy, and this energy can be very negative because some say it would come from the black hole and the antimatter, and this energy is very, very chaotic. It can cause a lot of chaos if not put into check. So they send in the flood. They send in the flood, and so they send in the flood. This was the men. When they come here, they found this man here. These were the former men and not some apes like beings. That one was made from human itself of other substances. These beings, okay, these apes come from the humans, not otherwise. This is ridiculous. They look very stupid, huh? It doesn't come to my logic, it doesn't make any sense to me. Those were the humans. Those were the former humans. They were much taller, much less denser, much evolved. This is idiots here. Not quite them because they... Okay, so they send in the flood. Where's the damn flood? Anyway, I don't know. They send in the flood, and so they brought in the flood, and then they destroyed. Now the flood was not like something very scary. Okay, it was not something very scary. The flood was something very like this one. It didn't affect everybody, didn't kill everybody, because there are forces in nature that still protects the beings here. Okay, there's forces of nature here who protects against those monsters, those wild monsters that come from over of world. So the flood was basically just like that, just like what we have right now. It was not something like in high magnitude. That one was taken into extreme, and it was a big lie. So the course of but the human became in the course of time so degenerated that the gods resolved to destroy Mekaba mean of lie because it was them who changed the nice docile humans who already were here, and they created the monsters so as to have the reason to bring in destruction, wars, destruction, pandemics, what they do up to now. Okay, and they came here, they find already beings much bigger than what we are today. It was not apes. Big lie, man. Why now the apes haven't chat to evolve? Why they haven't evolved? Why they're still apes for? Why they're still remnants of our ancestors? Why? It doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, Neanderthals and many others were not apes. They were part of humans and the humanity, and they didn't come from Africa, everybody. The continents existed simultaneously. Nothing from Africa is something that was created so as to live a politically correct, conventional norms. So, but the human race became in the course of time the visible lie. Deucalion, son of Prometheus. Who is Deucalion? Deucalion. So he is Prometheus, the son of Prometheus, not Deucalion, but he is Deucalion. So Deucalion, son of Prometheus, of course they wanted like that. That's not how they look at like. They look at like beasts. Okay, beasts. Not quite. They could take up a human form, because they already have taken up DNA from humans. However, the essence, the spirit, were not quite human. The causal body that I see was not human at all. Not human. And his wife Pyrrha, being on account of the piety, the only mortal saved. Of course, because it belongs to one of them. That people belong to one of them. They are seedlings. By the command of his father, Deucalion built a ship in which he and his wife took refuge during the deluge. And this ship was nothing less or more than a spacecraft, I suppose. So this is ship or a spacecraft. Okay. Built a ship in which he and his wife took refuge during the deluge, which lasts for 9 days. When the waters are bad, that one was only a certain continent where is today called Africa. It doesn't give respect to the rest of the world. That's not true. When the waters receded, the ship rested on Mount Altir on Thessaly, according to some on Mount Parnassus. So here we have Deucalion and Pyrrha, his wife. So they went to Mount Parnassus. Thus Deucalion and Pyrrha consulted the oracle of Themis. They consulted Themis to see how the human race could be restored. However, it was not the entire human race. This cannot be, just not possible. Okay, just not possible. And I believe this is Zeus here is the King Anu. King Anu. The oracles told them that they have to cover their heads and throw the bones of their mother behind them. For some time they were perplexed as to the meaning of the oracular command, but at length both agreed that by the bones of their mother were meant the stones of the earth. The stones of the earth. They accordingly took up stones from the mountain sides and cast them over their shoulders. What this could do to mankind doesn't make any sense. It must have had other deep meaning. Maybe they supposed to know that could be that they have to reproduce more, have sex, and then take the bone of their mother, take the calcium of their mother while they are the mother uterus. They are going to grab stone from the mother. That's nonsense. That's why I mean I'm stupid, you know. They take things, everything they take literally. From the throne by the Deucalion, there sprung up man, and from the throne by Pyrrha, woman. So what they mean is that from the genes, because from the gene of the male, come out more males, and from the woman can come any gender, male or female, but from the man he can only fabricate more males. Woman can fabricate male or female. And from those thrown by Pyrrha woman. After the lapse of time, the theory of out-shetoni, from out to self and sheton et, was laid aside. When this belief existed, there were no religions, teachers, whatever better. But in course of the time, temples were raised. So temples were raised, but those temples started during the time or the timeline of the Patriarchy. Before that, it was the Matriarchy, when Earth was in the golden age. It was ruled by females alone, the time of the Matriarchy. The Matriarchy was the golden era, where there's no war, no fighting, not all this vermifuge, this carnificine, these atrocities that we have right now. So later, when the Patriarchy time came, thanks to the Anunnakis aliens, which is from Orion and Sirius, all this, I don't want to say another, I need to control myself. All this nonsense started. They started to create a vengeful, angry, evil God that punishes, God that doesn't love. Because if men were really created by a God, a literal defined God, what kind of a father is that allow everybody to suffer like hell in here? It's because men were not created by them, and they know it. After all, they say it's not my children. Why should I care? I come there on the invasion anyway. I made myself God, so why should I care? But this is garbage. This is little monsters called human species. I'm gonna punish them, and I send flood, and send in solar storm, and send in earthquake, all kind of geographical disaster. It's not natural, but it's given by them. Okay, and I'm gonna make them crazy and kill one another, destroy one another. So that's how the temples started. That's how the time of the Patriarchy started. How religions came about. Women were more focused in spirituality. Spirituality doesn't mean spiritualism doesn't mean spirituality. Spirituality is another thing. Spiritualism is another. So human were more focused on the spiritual aspect of life than it was the spiritualistic way of life. They did pray for nature and all this, for Mother Earth, but it was not a deity per se, but it's more like a symbol of gratefulness for what they have. Okay, but when men started to come about to rule, they started to create those wrathful, evil, ugly, angry male gods. And that's the truth. That's the truth. That's the truth. And if these males rulings in here, this patriarchy, this hierarchy of evil, came the sacrifice of animals, the poor creatures, these poor creatures who once among the human were loved. If they had to eat them, they will place them to sleep in a trance. They will sing for them, usually in the clan. There was a older woman, and she would sing for them, for the animals, that particular animal. And once they sleep, it claimed, I'm not sure whether it really took place, but they claim that a door would open, a portal, and the soul of these animals, which belong to a single soul, a single collective, will exit the body and they will die. And then they give that body to the males, for the males to wash it up and cut it up for the tribe to eat. That's how they lived in this time. Many time, I would say 1 million to 5 million years ago. Okay, before males were to rule. Once male come into the picture, everything went haywire. Animals were sacrificed. Not even animals, not enough. Let's kill our children. Virgin were given to this evil goddess who is nobody, nothing but so. Your children were given to this, your God is here. Your God, that's your gods. That's your gods. Your children, the animals, will sacrifice it for them. And you think it is funny? You think it is something like sanctified, sacred? No, it ain't. It isn't. There's nothing fun in that. I don't find it funny to shed blood. It was not them who create. So why you give something to some beasts or demons who didn't create a crap here? Huh? You stupid or what? So these priests were looking open as authority in all religions matter. Of course, a male. So they fool the most. He's a male, he will fool the other stupid males. And why? In some cultures, human were not supposed to come into temples, or any. They were not real. Let's say they were not really. They were not really to come. They were not encouraged. They will tell you the woman, not to come into temples. Why? Because this one is a male hierarchy, is a male construct. So for Caesar, what belongs to Caesar? Human have their own way of get in touch with their spiritual self, their nature. Okay, so the temples were basically mostly for males. Only now that they relax, they allow them to come, because women have forgotten to become a woman nowadays. They are more like a masculine version of a male. Okay, it's very hard to find a real feminine woman, and I'm not talking about those feminine women who are male oriented, those women who are very patriarchal, those women who goes to church, who goes to temple, whatever, masjid, mosques. No, I'm not talking about this woman. It doesn't mean that they're feminine. No, they are not. They are not feminine at all. Those are male-oriented females. So in the doctrine, the thought was that men had been created by the gods, and that there had been several successive ages of man. What they did, they are so insidious, so sneaky, insidious, that they come here, they already find beings in here created by the multiverse, by the cosmos, the cork, etc. They find them here. What they do, they mix their array of creation with them, mix DNA, and then they say that they created that beings when they replicate. And how many more time I have to tell this? How many more time I have to repeat? They replicate, they did not create. Creation is not a replication. Creation is originality, is principles, is something that's created, principle, forced, okay, is originality. It's not imitation. It's not imitation. To be a creator, you have to swear that you have created anything, okay? So religion's math and the doctrine they taught was that men had been created by the gods, and that there had been several successive ages of man, which were called the golden, silver, brazen, and iron ages. Golden age, which was mainly directed by females, is the Garden of Eden, and later the Metal Age, whereby men, mostly cavemen, they dwelt there under the cave, and they created things in a very supernatural way. Like it was like they used psychic powers to create minerals. Later on came the Brazen Age, where men were very strong, like steel. They created this timeline where men were like steel. They were very strong, very, very strong. I think they didn't precede it, but they were after. They preceded the Metal Age males, okay, men. So it was called the Golden, Silver, Brazen, Iron Age. Life in the Golden Age was one unceasing round of ever-recurring pleasures, unmarred by sorrow or care. Didn't have enough of this thing. They favored the mortals living at this happy time, led pure and joyous lives, thinking no evil and doing no wrong. The earth brought forth fruits and flowers without toil or labor. We didn't even to plant, they just sprout like that. And plentiful, luxurious and war was not. Now I'm gonna tell you why. These eras was before the Anunnakis come in, before the invasions. This was the era that it was the Eden time before your gods come here. Once your gods came in, all hell break loose, literally wise, and that is the result we have today. This is like when God like exists. God like it. It was not God like, it was ungodlike it. That's why it was good. It was ungodlike, not godlike. Godlike is what we have right now. The Anunnakis, devils, aliens, gods that you all worship. That's what we have nowadays. lasted for hundreds of years, and thanks to you, or demons, thanks to you, that we have what we have today, chaos. We have chaos. Huh? And wars, heavy nuts, crimes, pandemics, greed is the order of the day, fight among people, beasts killing one another. That's terrible. So this lifeful and a ungodly like existence lasts for hundreds of years during the Eden time, and when at length time life on earth was ended, death laid his hand so gently upon them that they passed painlessly away in a happy dream. That's what I always said, that people now, before a long time ago, they didn't have the kind of death that we have today. The kind of death traumatic through suicide. Not say suicide only. The most here is about homicide. Through wars, through accidents, pandemics, diseases, homicides. Okay, homicides. Those are all done on purpose so as to destabilize that spirit. Once you die through diseases, through pandemics, through disasters, but could be artificial disaster that we have, geographical disaster sent by these demons that you all worship. When this happens, your spirit doesn't have peace, and you go to Hades. There are places there under the earth. You go to Hades, okay? Because your causal body doesn't have a way of auto-destruction. You have to wait on them, rely on them to destroy this body. If it's not destroyed for one reason or another, because they just don't care anymore, what happens is that you're gonna suffer, because you're still gonna identify yourself with what you are not, and that's the causal body, that spirit, that piece of information and software. Okay, so that's what happens. That's why many people are not at peace once they die, and they also they're not complete. They are not complete. They know they are not complete without the body and the mind and his avatar that they use it to have their personality. They don't have their personality anymore. They don't have their avatar, and they don't know quite exactly who they are. They are lost. They are lost. The only way is for them to be destroyed. This came here. You all died in peace. People use it to die, and I'm not talking about this. It's just an image, but it was a time before that, much earlier than that, when people choose when to die and choose when to live, when to incarnate and when to die. They didn't want to reincarnate, but they want to incarnate with different. Let's not compare incarnation with reincarnation, okay? I'm not talking about reincarnation in here, rather incarnation at will. And we did have a much better life back then. We died in peace, and now we go back to source. You don't have to carry this bubble this way on our essence sheet with us. Once we are attached to this bubble, you have no peace, because it's a print, an impression that you need to get rid of. And most of the time, this is monsters that governs you all, doesn't want to do away with this bubble. End up you all suffering the other side. Not for me, because I have chosen not to. They're gonna break their ugly faces to me, because not gonna happen to me. I swear it's not gonna happen. Okay, because I'm more than that, more than what they can imagine. No, they didn't pass their ministry in spirit and hides. No, no, no. They went back to source. If you go back to Hades, it's because you belong to this hierarchy. You belong to these beings. Okay, because this Hades kind of a thing. This Hades nonsense is more or less like this, but there's many kind of like hue here, all those side there is hue, okay, all over. It's mostly dark, but it's operated by an artificial sun, artificial light, at will, whenever they want, depending in which level that causal body will go. You're gonna have some facilities, just like a prison. There are prisons as well, because I have seen my brother back in 83. I don't know whether they have it more any longer, but I have seen my brother who passed away in 73. I saw him back when he was captured. He stayed happily on the earth. After he died, he stayed happily on earth, but came a time when he felt so bored that he decided he wanted the respite and want to move on, because he was tired of staying at that beach. He was in the beach, okay, not beach but beach near the sea, because his death is something like very mysterious. I'm not gonna into detail, but he was buried in the sand, the beach sand, and he come to me because I'm very sensitive. At the time I was about 8-year-old when he passed on. He passed on at the age of 21. I was 8-year-old. So after that he started coming to me. Always he appeared to me on the beach. Back then I didn't have a notion of what I was having. I was a kid. I didn't know what was that. I didn't even tell anybody. Everything that happens to me, I'll keep it quiet. But I keep on seeing things and seeing vision from young. Okay, the being that killed him was trying to kill me at the same time. Me, it was forced 1 year later, earlier, but they didn't succeed to kill me. So they did away with my brother, who was 21 years old at that time. A black man killed him. I'm not going to details. A lot of things, very complex. I'm not going to details how it started. So I have and he keep on following me, sometimes to protect me, sometimes to give me strength, giving me a lot of strength, so much that I thought I was Hercules, because he was a very tall guy and very muscular, and tan, because he loved sun, so he used to go to the sun a lot and to tan a lot. He was tall, I still remember, brown hair, tanned skin, and a very muscular. And he passed that strength that he had to me. So what can I say? Nobody could fight me, because I will win, because he passed his strength to me. And in 83 I saw him again. This time was the last time I saw him. He came to me, he brought me into where he was. It was a place like this, but not quite like this walls. It's just like a dungeon, a dungeon. It was like that, very old. And around there's a lot of dragon. I saw a lot of ugly creature who didn't see me. But I could see them, but they couldn't see me. And I was behind the dragons, and I was like 500 meters away from my brother, a cell, and he was there with a lot of other guys. Jailed. For what? I don't know. Maybe my brother did something that they thought he deserved jail. His light body deserved jail. And I was watching my brother. Now I am like, how old I was? I was 19. I was 1 year after I got married. I was 18 plus. Yeah, 18 plus. And then he came to me after a decade. He came to me and said, God is not what you think he is. He loved you more than a brother. I wish I could help you, but I'm not free right now. And that was the last time, and he didn't talk to me like really like a brother. You see, not his avatar, but his essence, which is not his personality here in this earth. It was something else. And I died. After that, I was brought back to my body. That was 1983. And so is here where they bring guys. Okay, they bring guys after death to it's just all, this is all instruction. It's just a construction as to have some reason to satiate their sadistic nature, to punish beings that they did not create. They have to prove that they didn't create it in anything. Not here, at least not in this dimension. Okay, at all went to Hades. Hades who go there is who belong to this archons, overlords. Okay, the men of the Silver Age were a long time growing up. So that's the Silver Age men, more, and they claim that they were a bit feeble, weak. So they were a long time growing up, and during their childhood, which lasted 100 years, they suffered from ill health. Of course, they stayed in that caves, which went up on the high in 500 degrees Celsius, and extremely debility. When they at last became men, they lived but a short time, for they would not be staying from mutual injury. Of course, they live inside there. What you expect? Too hot, too constricted, nor pay the service due to the gods. Very funny, huh? Very fun. So you come here, you enslave the species, and you still want people to pay for you, to pay bounties, pay deeds to you. Wake up, man. And a word therefore banished to Hades. There, unlike the beings of the Golden Age, they exercised no beneficent supervision over the dear ones left behind. Wait a minute. So what they mean is, only if you are privileged, you will be able after that to help your beloved ones here on earth. Otherwise, you will not help but give them hell. Is that what you mean? Huh? Is that what you mean? That you mean to have being privileged, being the chosen one, so as to help your loved ones here, but wandered about as the restless spirits. That's what happened. Even nowadays, there's a lot of restless spirits about, because they don't know, this bubble don't know where to go, because they don't want to destroy this body that they created. The only way out is to know that you doesn't belong to this body. This body is not what you are. Okay, that's the only way you can get rid of it. Always sighing for the lost pleasures they had enjoyed in life. That's terrible. That's really terrible. Up as the restless ghosts idle on earth, they can they are omnipresent. They can be at different places at the same time. They are not geographically restricted to a place alone. They can be at many places at the same time. Okay, and I don't know. I don't want to believe in all this nonsense, really. That's disgust to me, putrid and very disgusting. But the place where I went is more or less like this, but it's more plain. Here you have some thing like this. Is not plain by one. This one's plain. Was one single story, and there were creatures like this one, but smaller. The men of the brazen age or metallic age were stronger, much more than the silver or the silver men, which were much kind of feeble and weaker. Everything which surrounded them was of brass, their arm, their tool, their wheelings, and all that they made. Their character seemed to have resembled the metal in which they delighted. Their minds and hearts were hardy, duration, cruel. Of course, reptilian or Dracos. They lead a life of strife and contention, introduced into the world, which had hitherto known nothing but peace and tranquility. The scourge of wars was prevalent, and this comes from the Draco system. And those Dracos were in fact only happy when fighting and quarreling with each other. Hydeso Themis, the goddess of justice, had been living among mankind. She became disheartened at their evil doings. She abandoned the earth and winged her flight back to heaven. I'm not sure the Artemis is the same as Artemis. I'm not sure. However, this was the goddess of justice, and she quarreled with her father. She used it to quarrel with her father because she said she didn't agree with the way how they make things here on earth, how they created. And I guess that she was ordered to leave earth, go back to where they come from. I guess Sirius or Orion. At last the gods became so tired of their evil deeds, which was thanks to them and continual dissensions, that they removed them from the face of the earth and sent them down to Hades. Of course, they were not even from earth. What? You all brought them here. So what you expect? Sent them to Hades after killing them to share the fate of their predecessors. So you see, this is beings. They make a lot of timelines, and they keep on bringing new races. The one to come gonna be a half a bioman, half human, half non-humans. And you see, they're gonna create a lot of nonsense here. There will be no more sympathy. Like, we don't even have sympathy nowadays. We don't have people who are empathic, sensitive enough, kind enough. The future of the earth, they plan to make it even harder to live in, to thrive in, with semi-android beings, and so that they later will throw them back to Hades again. We now come to the man of the Iron Age. The earth no longer teeming with fruitfulness. For the Iron Age man, at this time the earth no longer teeming with fruitfulness. It was hard very hard to thrive in, only yielded high increase after much toil and labor. The goddess of justice, having abandoned mankind, she's the same as Virgin Mary or Kuan Yin, and many others who seem to be uh, very benevolent, very merciful. No influence remained sufficiently powerful to preserve them from every kind of weakness and sin. This condition grew worse as time went on until at last Zeus in his anger let loose the water courses from above and drowned every individual of this evil race except Deucalion and Pyrrha. Again. So this is Zeus. Of course you're not like this. Is a Draco. Okay, Zeus is a Draco. He's wanted like this at all. This one is an imaginary image that people create. Humans create, but it's not how it look like. Zeus is just a ray of a fire, something like that. It could be the Enlil or Anu, king of Satan and Nibiru. So it finally brought the flood, but of course it didn't kill many overall people. That's not true. It has never been this way. I always felt this way. So they get bored, not because the people were evil, but because they themselves were evil, and get bored and say, oh, I'm fed up with this timeline, let's create another, not destroy this, I'm just fed up with this Sims game. We now come to the man of the Iron Age. The earth no longer teeming fruitfulness seen, only yielded the high increase after much toil and labor. The goddess of justice have abandoned him. So he destroyed another timeline, another race. The goddess of justice have abandoned mankind to place remained sufficiently powerful to preserve them from every kind of weakness and sin. This condition grew worse as time went on, until at last Zeus in his anger let loose the water courses from above and drowned every individual of this evil race except Deucalion and Pyrrha. If they keep on this Deucalion and Pyrrha, it's because it belonged to him somehow. It was one of his seedlings and his lineage. Otherwise, he wouldn't not have spared them. And I don't see why the Iron Age men were evil. I don't see why. You see, they were the evil one. They just want to find excuses to destroy, do away with timelines. So the theory of Hesiod, the oldest of all Greek poets, was that the Titan Prometheus, which was not like that. I don't believe he was. This one is just an avatar. Son of Iapetus had formed men out of clay, and that Athena had breathed in her spirit into man. Athena, I guess it was the queen of Orion, the reptilian serpent queen, but that was after, okay, after the creation of humankind, after the invasion. Athena had breathed a soul into him, full of love for the beings he had called into existence. Prometheus determined. Prometheus could be Enki. Could have been Enki like to become like Anubis, who was called the Cautalian, also was Enki, or the son of Enki. And he also was the crocodile man, and also he was Horus, the bird man, in ancient Egypt mythology, which is half truth. Now, to me, Enki could be any of these beings except that one shown. Because in each mythology, could be the Roman mythology, could be the Greek, could be the ancient Egypt mythology, they always find a way to portray themselves within an avatar in accord to what the specific culture, or could be even the Vedas in Hindu. They find, or could be the Chinese culture, they find a way to adapt themselves into it. So Enki could be one of those. I would say, who knows this one? This one, no, I don't think so. Enki could be this one also. One of these two. Okay. He's not a human. Not a human role. That is nonsense. That's why men are stupid, and sometimes men, they deserve what they get. And Kios could be this one and Kyo and Leo. But to me, they are just a single being that they play games of multiplicity. In Egypt, he would be depicted as this man here, darker one, in Leo. This one, Enki. Oh, Enki is the brown one, and Leo, how come and Leo is the black one? And Leo, they say, was the one who sent the flood, because he didn't allow Enki to create a hybrid. But however, they are not human. They are not humans at all. They are dragons. Okay, but they can adapt themselves so as to fit in and better manipulate from within. However, they are not humans at all. Finally, come in Enki, oldest of all the Greek, so the ten had breathed soul into him. Athena here, I'm sorry, it was not the Orion queen. Rather, Athena was Erishigal, or Nima, Ishita, Nima, who is Enki's half sister. Okay, she was not the queen of Orion. Had breathed to him. When she say breathe to him the soul, it's not true. What she say, they mean is they come here during, now they talk about the 500,000 years ago invasion, when they come in and then they mix up humans. The human that they saw here, they mix up their DNA by Ishigal Ishta, she bore her womb and mix up the sperm of the men once here to create a hybrid, which was Adamu and Titi, or Adamu and Eve. And this one, of course, they are not humans. And Enki, he have sons with men, if woman, of course, men, if humankind, womankind. So he impregnated a woman, and he had Adapa. It was the first inbreed Adapa, and they were not white, they were black, okay, or brown, black. They were hybrids. So Ishtar, which was his half sister, have Adamu in Titi or Eve, either one. And this one had Adapa and Titi or Eve. And then he brought his son to the king Anu of Nibru, but the king was okay, accept the hybrid with human. However, this one didn't accept and said that he brought shame to the kingdom and asked to destroy the species. They said that the experiment will be a failure, and he was right. Um, his context is Prometheus determined to elevate their minds and improve their condition every way. He therefore taught them astronomy, see, was in key, mathematics, the alphabet, how to cure diseases, and the art of divination. But we didn't need all that because our former uh, ancestors already knew all that. He was just giving back what was taken from our ancestors. He created this race in such great numbers that the gods began to see the necessity of instituting certain fixed laws with regard to the sacrifices due to them. So they still wanted to sacrifice human sacrifices or animals sacrifices, and the worship to which they considered themselves entitled to from mankind in return to the protection which they accorded them. And that was the African race that they created. An assembly was therefore convened at Mekuni in order to settle these points. It was decided that Prometheus, as the advocate of man, should slay an ox, which should be divided into two equal parties, and that the gods should select one portion which should henceforth in all future sacrifices be set apart for them. Prometheus so divided the ox that one part consisted of the bones, which formed of course the least valuable portions of the animal, but has the bony marrow inside, artfully concealed by the white fat. Only dogs like bone. Whereas the other contained all the edible parts, which he covered with the skin, and on top of all they laid the stomach. Zeus pretended to be deceived. He chose the heap of bones, but he saw through the stratagem and was so angry. Oh, this Zeus need to get some chamomile tea, and he's very worked up at the deception practiced on him by Prometheus that he avenged himself but refused to mortals the gift of fire. No need, keep to yourself. See what you have created, only monsters if you're fire. Prometheus, however, resolved to brave the anger of the great ruler of Olympus, and to obtain from heaven the vital spark so necessary for the further progress and comfort of the human race. He accordingly contrived to steal some sparks from the chariot of the sun, which he covered to earth hidden in a hollow tube. Furious at being again outwitted, Zeus determined to be revenged force on mankind, and then on Prometheus. To punish the former, he commanded Hephaestus, Vulcan, to mold a beautiful woman out of clay. This could have been Enlil here. Jehovah, they call Jehovah nowadays. The red dragon, fire red dragon, and Ki is the black dragon. How he brought the woman when he was not him who created the woman, it was some other female energy from the others constellations. Who is him to decide it? He didn't create any woman, given that the men couldn't create a woman. Males couldn't create a woman, so how he could create a woman? The woman was created already when he came here, and in fact billions of years ago. And there were the matriarchy kingdom that they destroyed. Who is him to create? He created a demoness. He created a Kali, okay? It's a demoness, a Tranin looking fake human, not a real human. Liar, paint on fire. And begin again outwitted. Zeus determined to be revenged the force on mankind, and then on Prometheus. To punish the former, he commanded Hephaestus, Vulcan, to mold a beautiful woman out of clay, and determined that through her instrumentality, trouble and misery should be brought into the world. It's not the woman who brings trouble to the world, dude. It's the male. It's males. not even a female. But if you create a demoness, then she will be alongside the male creating trouble. But it's not the female who creates trouble. So what's your point? The gods were so charmed with the graceful and artistic creation of Hephaestus that they all determined to endow her with some special gift. Hermes, Mercury, bestowed on her a smooth, persuasive tongue. Aphrodite gave her beauty and the art of pleasing. The Graces made her fascinating, and Athena, Minerva, gifted her with the possession of feminine accomplishments. She was called Pandora. She was Pandora, which means all gifted, having received every attribute necessary to make her charming and irresistible. Thus, beautifully formed and endowed, this exquisite creature, attired by the grace that might have been a demoness, and crowned with flowers by the seasons, was conducted to the house of Epimetheus by Hermes, the messenger of the gods. Now Epimetheus, Hermes is Mercury. Now Epimetheus had been warned by his brother not to accept any gift whatsoever from the gods, but he was so fascinated by the beautiful being who suddenly appeared before him that he welcomed her to his home and made her his wife. It was not long, however, before he had cause to regret his weakness. He had in his possession a jar of rare workmanship, containing all the witchcraft, all the blessing reserved by the gods for mankind, which he had been expressly forbidden to open. But the woman's proverbial curiosity could not withstand so great a temptation, and Pandora, determined to solve the mystery at any cost, decided to open up. Is that Pandora beautiful? My goodness. She decided to open up the box. This box could mean secrets, okay? Secrets of mankind, of our history, which they didn't want people to know at that time. It was not to be disclosed yet. However, that's what Pandora box means. Mean a secret, just like the fruit of life that they don't want, the tree of life that they don't want people to know, or the secret of mankind. Just watching her opportunity, she raised the lid, and immediately all the blessings which the gods had thus reserved for mankind took wing and flew away. Oh my God, so dramatic. But all was not lost. Just as the hope which lay at the bottom. Yeah, really, always hope lays on the bottom, and sometimes it just gives away like a earthquake. Was about to escape. Pandora hastily closed the lid of the jar, and just preserved to man that never failing solace which helps him to bear with courage the many ills which assail him, which was given by the aliens. Thanks to them, is it, Pandora? Having punished mankind, Zeus determined to execute vengeance on Prometheus. He accordingly chained him to a rock and Mount Caucasus. The real Zeus, that's how he takes his original avatar or form. That's the real Zeus. He took Prometheus and he chained him at Mount Caucasus, which is in Russia, then the Ural Mountains, and he made an eagle come and always eat his liver, but always the same liver would regrow back again and again. so as to carry on this torture. That's how evil these beings are. This is not a god. How come um, people worship those monsters? How? Because you all are one of them. No other explanation. He placed him in Mount Caucasus and an eagle every day to gnaw away his liver, which grew again, and every night ready for fresh torments. For 30 years, Prometheus endured his fearful punishment, but at length Zeus relented and permitted his sons, Hercules, to kill the eagle, and the sufferer was released. I rather say that this one's Hercules, not this one. This one's Hercules. So this way we have all the history of how we told the truth about our ancestral origin here on this planet. I didn't see properly. I thought that one's a moose, but one's a lion. This one is one part of the Hercules too. It wasn't a human at all black. If his father were a Leo, then he was a Draco as well. To summarize it all, we came from the earth. I mean, we our body into the earth we shall return, and we don't belong to any fake monster. At least not me. I don't care about others, but I don't come from any fake monster gods out there. I come from nature, which was not quite like this, but it was also